Greetings and good morning, everybody. This is Chapadong, and I am back with another tool tour video showing you the changes that we've made to MLB in 2019 at dfsarmy.com. So again, thank you for watching these videos. Head down to the comment section. If you're not a VIP already, click the link dfsarmy.com. Use the coupon code opening day, one word, for a 20% off discount, limited time only, to get in here and get yourself access to all of the coaching, the content, and the tools that make us the most dominant DFS organization and community that has really honestly ever existed. I can tell you that just through our track record, and I showed you that in the last video. If you want to go back to the last video, it's in this article, scroll up a little bit, and walk through the last 5 minutes of that video, and I show you the track record in MLB that we have, the Army hats on top of the leaderboards. The coaching gets you there. I'm also showing you right now the daily content page. If I scroll under the MLB tab, it's this top one right here. I showed you the basic training page a minute ago. This is the MLB content page, has all of the links for you as well, all the way down to strategy articles and ladder article again. So if you want a couple of resources, including the channels, the coaching channels that we use, it's all right here for you. Easy reference points. What I want to show you more, though, is the research station. We'll start walking down this list a little bit. We'll show you starting lineups, which we already showed you in the previous one. We're talking XWOBA and WOBA and differential and all those fun numbers. If you're a numbers nerd, if you're a baseball guy, you're a numbers nerd. You're going to love the research station because this thing puts numbers on steroids. Bad word for MLB, but it's just the plain old truth. Then I'll show you in other videos, I'll show you some of the coaching notes we plan to do, weather station, Carnage report, tiers, all that good stuff as we rock and roll. So let's click into the research station. Let's get moving. I want to show you a couple of key features of the research station if you're brand new and you've never used it before. If I wanted to, first thing I do is say click on Arizona. Because now what I want to do is I'll hold the control button down and I'll click Colorado, Chicago, LA, New York. We always got to love St. Louis. And those are the only 6 offenses I wanted to look at on the slate today. Now I've got them all highlighted, and I'm only looking at those players and their numbers. So a lot of what I do personally inside MLB is I target specific offenses going up against bad pitching matchups, and I want to target those offenses explicitly. And I will do that by using this particular filter. If I want to turn it off, I'll just click on one of those teams again, and when it refreshes, then I will go back, hold the control button, click it again, and I go right back to all white. All the players are back. Okay? Some people use the sorting columns. They want to take advantage of the FanDuel pricing. Let's sort it by top to bottom. Who's the most expensive guy out there? Mike Trout. Duh. But now I've got the cheap guys at the bottom and the expensive guys at the top. And I can do it for DraftKings. And I've got the team and the eligibility of positions and the handedness of the batter, the opposing team, the opposing pitcher, and the handedness of the pitcher. Game start time, so I can control the slate time. If I wanted to, I can look at all these other numbers as well. I'm going to scroll right back over, and I'm going to resort here because it sorts by DFSA grade by default, and so I want to at least kind of put it back. So as I walk through this and show you stuff, I've got it used to the way that I want to see it. And I'll hold off on DFSA grade for just a minute because it's going to be a very important number for us this year. And you're only going to have it at dfsarmy.com. So again, click the link, use coupon code opening day. 2-year plate appearances by handedness. This is important because in a lot of cases in baseball, we want lefties facing righties and righties facing lefties. You're not going to see a lot of lefty on lefty type matchups where the left-handed batter's facing a left-handed pitcher. And the reason why is because it's a little bit of a vision issue for the batter. You can't see the ball coming out. It's an advantage pitcher. So when you watch these numbers, you're going to see Mike Trout hit, he's going to bat against everybody. But then you're going to see other guys that are platoon players that only play the lefty-righty splits. Therefore, their plate appearances over 2 years are going to be lower. I mean, rookies, of course, Ohtani, Tejas here, or Voit, whatever, guys that don't have a lot of experience are going to be lower too. But you might be looking for the guys that are guaranteed to be in there. These are guys that might not also. This is another tricky way to use this number. Let's say I see a high lefty on lefty. And I don't really see one. A lot of the lefties are facing righties, which is honestly the way that it's supposed to be. But I don't really see, I need to find lefty. 516, Brandon Belt. Brandon Belt's largely going to be in there. Brandon Belt's going to draw the start with this number of at-bats. He's going to draw the start against Eric Lauer as a lefty-lefty matchup, which also means Brandon Belt is not coming out late in the game just because a lefty reliever comes in. So you can get 3-4 at-bats out of him as opposed to somebody who plays the lefty-righty bit, and then when a lefty comes in out of the bullpen, boom, he gets yanked and cuts you down to only 2 at-bats for the game. At-bats are gold in DFS MLB. At-bats are your opportunity to score points. You want as many at-bats as you can. That's also why we focus on the tops of the batting order. You'll hear all these things echoed day in and day out inside DFS Army. It's a little bit of logic or a little bit of common sense to guys that have played the sport a lot, but for guys that haven't, it's something that we need to learn. It's one of the key fundamentals. As we scroll over and look at some of the hitter stats, there's 2-year WOBA. WOBA, weighted on base average. If you heard me talking starting lineups page, you know weighted on base average means that singles are not worth as much as doubles, which are not worth as much as home runs, which means that all hits are not created equal. WOBA attempts to measure that and say you hit more home runs, you're a better hitter. And for DFS purposes, it's a very, very important number. Over 400 is what we're looking for. And you're not going to see it over the course of a full season very often. I mean, if Mike Trout can't do it, ain't nobody can do it. But what you will see guys that regress. You know, they start off slow and then they heat up. See a 1-year number of Justin Smoke at 361 and he starts off hitting like 250. Then a month into the season, you can start banking on the fact that he's going to get hot at some point. And we play that regression game in baseball like we don't in any other sport almost. You're going to regress toward the mean. If you have a large sample of numbers that you can look towards, a large steady baseline, heard me talk about that in a previous video a little bit too, a large baseline of numbers that you can draw from, you can expect that unless something fundamentally changes, like a guy got hurt or something like that, or he's just getting older, he's 38, 39 now, etc., you can bank on the fact that if he's, 26 and healthy, that the guy is probably going to hit about what he has always hit through the course of a year. And you can start watching his month in and month out numbers. Are they up or are they down based on his larger career body of work? A 2-year number helps you with that. A 2-year WOBA of, I was looking at the pitching WOBA, but a 2-year WOBA of 440, 430, these are great numbers. Outstanding numbers. And if I wanted to sort by them, I certainly could. If I wanted to weed out and go down to the number filters, only those greater than, say, 350, and I wanted to chuck the trash, I can do that. And this will help put me on quality hitters, quality stacks. We'll talk about stacking in a little while. But your pitching WOBA, what did the pitcher give up based on handedness? And the matchup WOBA, what can we expect? ISO is a power number. There's your 2-year hitter ISO. So somebody like Tejas here has very, very small sample size. Let's get down to somebody a little bit bigger. I mean, 340 is great for Ohtani. 306 is really, really strong for Trout. 306 might be one of the strong, if not the strongest on the slate, which is crazy because he hits for average and he hits for power. That's why Mike Trout's so darn good. It's also why he's the most expensive hitter on the slate. What did the starting pitcher give up to handedness? And what's the matchup telling us? These give me ideas, and then a total matchup between the matchup WOBA and the matchup ISO, a total matchup rating. I can sort by that and I can find out who has the strongest matchup. Pretty nifty, huh? These are all numbers I don't even know how to calculate. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know where to get my answers. And it's right here in the research station. Player type, is he safer? Has he got a lot of upside? Well, hello, Trout rings both bells again. Shocker. But then you've got somebody down in here that maybe has a little bit more discrepancy to him. A Joey Gallo type, 72% safe, 84% upside. A little bit more boom or bust. So I know to use him more for my GPPs, or if he was really, really cheap as some kind of a home run punt that I'm trying to get in baseball. The diamond rating, batter's eyes for the hitter, diamond rating should be, you know what? We're going to have to consult the dictionary on that one because I don't remember the diamond rating. But I will tell you this. All of these ratings have heavy factors of other numbers incorporated in them. Your value ratings, of course, based on projection, based on salary, StatCast data, exit velocity, how fast that ball come off his bat when he hits, how many barrels are expected, barrels per plate appearance, etc. These are all StatCast. These are like ultra nerd numbers. But they're very predictive these days, and they're becoming more and more popular and more necessary in the overall analytics of a baseball or a DFS slate for sure. Stats versus opponent handedness. You want to know if he hits righties well? Look it up. It's right there for you. There's a 2-year sample size there. If I scroll over even more, I've got park factors, park rankings. What kind of home run park am I sitting in tonight? I've got bullpen ratings. Bullpen ratings can be very important. Why? If I get a pitcher that's on, some kind of a short innings, number, or tends to throw for high pitch counts and gets yanked early in games, I'm getting into that bullpen early. And if it's a stellar bullpen, a couple of my at-bats might not be very, very strong at-bats. Might not be a great matchup for me. But if it's a horrible bullpen that just gets rocked, then I might get 2 at-bats against very soft pitching. And that might make the difference to whether or not I take a batter or stack that offense. Come over a little bit more to Vegas info. That'll populate when the odds and stuff are released for Thursday's opening day. Overall stats, everything from outside strike zone percentage to inside, outside contact, bad ball hitters, good ball hitters. That is all, again, super nerd stuff that it's there if you want it. It's not if you don't want it. I don't look at that stuff very often, and I play a lot of DFS baseball. Okay? RC plus is another good number. It's more of a sabermetrics type of number. WOBA, slugging percentage, OBP, ISO. If you know anything about me, you take on-base percentage and slugging percentage and add them together and you get OPS. And OPS is a great number. 1,000 is a great number. Anything over 1,000 is stellar. And you can tell that almost 1,050 or 1,100 is Mike Trout, so there's verification right there. It's just another way to measure numbers. WOBA, great. OPS, fine. OBP is a little bit misleading because OBP is only getting on base. Now, we want players in cash games that don't make outs. Higher OBPs are better, but we want some ISO to go with it. We want some power to go with it. Because if all a guy does is draw walks, he's not going to hit a lot of home runs for me. He's not going to get me a ton of fantasy points. If the guy's on second base and my guy draws a walk, you didn't drive him in. I didn't get the extra points for that. I want players that have a combination of on-base potential, on-base percentage, and ISO or power. So what I did a couple of years back is I created a category called OB ISO. OBP plus ISO. It creates a sliding scale. 400 is an elite OBP. It's also an elite WOBA. 200 is an elite ISO. So if I take the OBP and add it to the ISO, if I've got a guy with a high OBP, he can live with a little less ISO and still get to the magic 600 number, which is 2 elite numbers added together. 400 and 200 is 600. So in this case, 447 and 287 is what? 720, 734? Well over 600. Tells me that Mike Trout's an elite hitter. He's elite in both categories. But some guys, like let's go back down to Joey Gallo, it's going to have a low OBP, but a high ISO, still over 600. He can still help my team. If I go to another guy like a Joey Votto, there's Joey Votto right there. High OBP, low ISO. It's elite. It's not low. It's not Joey Gallo high, but it's not low. 600. Why? Because he has a little lower ISO than Joey Gallo, but he's got a higher OBP than Joey Gallo. So it creates a sliding scale where if a guy has high OBP numbers, he can still get to 600 and help me out. And if he has a high ISO, he can suffer with a lower OBP and still get to that 600 number, which helps me out. Combining these two metrics together has proven to be one very effective way finding great hitters for your lineups. That's one you can pretty much only get inside DFSArmy.com because I created it myself. I know you can find it elsewhere, but if you want to find out the reasons why, you got to talk to me, and I'm only in DFSArmy.com. Scroll over a little bit, and you want the same numbers again, but you want them versus lefties? There you go. WOBA versus lefties, slug, OBP, ISO. So here, 666 versus lefties is Mike Trout. Let's scroll over a little more, look at versus righties, and we see ISO versus righties, OBP versus righties. There's a 740, 750, gee, 754. So obviously, he's not as good against lefties as he is righties. He's still great against both. That's just one way to sift through some of these numbers. The one thing I didn't cover, DFSA grade. DFSA grade is a catch-all metric. It looks at all of that stuff. And it does the work for you. No surprise, Mike Trout had the best numbers. He's also got the best DFSA grade. This also takes into account a few other factors, though, like the pitching matchup. It's not just a pure WOBA number across the entire league the last 2 years. It's specific. It gives more weight towards a soft pitcher that he's facing today versus a great pitcher. His number will drop a little bit if he faces Chris Sale. Okay, so when we look at that in a weights and measures type of situation, the DFSA grade is a catch-all metric, much like and one from NBA, much like truck, stick, sticky hands, and all those numbers that we heard from NFL. It is a weighted conglomeration of statistics to give you an overall strength of matchup. And what we're looking at for these numbers, obviously higher is better, but we're looking at BVP. Buzzwords, popular buzzwords in the industry. We're looking at handedness. We're looking at, WOBA, ISO, OBP, all that stuff. Ballpark factor, implied run total. It's all in there. The better a matchup is for a guy and the better the guy himself is, the better his DFSA grade is going to be. And so really and truly, you could build lineups just almost exclusively off of that number alone and never look at another statistic. You're going to talk about saving a bunch of time. It's like I said, those numbers are all there for you, and we can explain them to you if you want to know. But if you don't want to know because you've also got PGA lineups to build and MMA lineups to build, then don't. Use the DFSA grade. It's all right there for you. And again, DFSA, DFS Army, proprietary number for you as a VIP. Let's look really quickly through our starting pitching matchups because I'm going to show you a similar situation here. You've got a lot of these pitchers coming in. If I scroll over here, I can do the same thing with the filters and with the sorting with everything else. I can look at all the same stuff with the matchups here, the salary matchups. I can look at all of the opponent versus the hitters and the starting pitching handedness and all of that kind of stuff with these categories. If I can find it again, there we go. The opponent hitters, K versus handedness. That tells me strikeout percentage versus the handedness of this pitcher. Because a lot of guys, some teams will strike out more against righties than lefties. Some teams will strike, some hitters will strike out more against righties than lefties, obviously. And then the pitcher's strikeout percentage, how much does he strike out? And I could look at handedness if I really wanted to, but an overall metric is usually pretty good here. I'll take these two, add them together. Again, I add together two metrics to create what I call K-score. That's a 47.4, a 474. Let's see if we can find a good one. 25 usually helps, but 16 is not so great. That's a 41-ish? Not great. I like to look for over 500, and I'm sure we'll find when we have more time to look through it, but I like to look for over 50% when we're combined. And the reason I'm going to try and find it, see, like if the 25.8 here was facing the 27.3, if these two teams were matching up, this starting pitcher was going against this team, then we'd have over a 500 K-score, and that'd be an indicator of a great pitching matchup, and that would be somebody we would consider as one of our pitchers. DFSA grade works very, very similarly as it does with hitting, and you've got all of the numbers at your disposal again. You want the pitcher stats, you want his K percentage, home run per 9, his whip, his Sierra, all that good stuff. You want WOBA versus lefties? You want WOBA versus righties? You've got it. Innings, parks, bullpens, Vegas, overall stats, home splits, road splits for the pitchers. Find out who's better on the at home than on the road, etc., etc., etc. You've got it all to look up, or you can use the DFSA grade and just catch it all. Totally your call. Oh, I was scrolled down. If I scroll up a little bit and now look at a Max Scherzer type, I see 22% and a 34%. So where are we at? 56? That's a strong number. 560-ish? There's where my 500s are going to be. They're going to be up here in the green lights. 23 and 25 is 480. 50. 50. 56. Okay? So you can see the pitchers we're going to be focused on. They're going to be expensive, but every once in a while you'll find one of the lower guys that'll slip into here in a month or two. You'll start seeing a lot of value in pitching start slipping up into here just based on this. And again, you're going to find it first at DFS Army. Stacks, we got stack builders for you. Average salary, all that good stuff. And this will fill in, okay? And will show us more on the players. Parks, you want to know which parks give up more hits, more doubles, more triples, more home runs? Sort by it, by descending. Bang. Minute Maid Park in Houston gave up more home runs last year. Wrigley Field gave up more home runs. Great American Small Park in Cincinnati gave up more home runs than Coors Field. Some of that is related to the pitching staffs. Some of that is related to the hitting in the teams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of it is related on weather and the atmosphere of the hitting ballpark, humidity, wind, indoors, outdoors, all that stuff. And for that, you would need to go down here to our weather station, which we'll talk about in another video, and consult with our weather guy, Mark, because he knows all of that stuff for you. Again, I don't need to know all the answers. I just need to know where to get them. My favorite tab is the Trends tab, and then we'll cut this video off right after this because I just want to show you how much information you have at your disposal. It is insane how much you have here. All of the batters, DFSA grade. Scroll back up again because we know Mike Trout was at the top. That was an easy one to catch. Again, if I want, I can sort by teams and sort by times and sort by positions, blah, 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 blah. 14-day plate appearances tells me who's getting the most at-bats over the last 14 days. This goes back into last year. So we're going to have to wait a week or two or three for some of these numbers to normalize. Until then, you're going to be relying heavily on your coaches and their experience with these players and picking up on who's getting ready to get off to hot starts and who's not, because a lot of this data is not going to fill in yet. These 30-day, 14-day, 7-day sample sizes are nothing right now. They're all going back to last year. But when they do start populating, of course, 7-day will happen in a week, 14-day will happen in 2 weeks, and after, at the end of April, we'll start getting these 30-day numbers trickling in. I like using the larger baseline numbers of 30 days. How'd the guy hit over 30 days? What was his WOBA? What was his ISO? Was it high? Was it low? What was it? And what's his 7-day doing now? Is it running hotter or colder than the big number? If I've got the bigger baseline, I can determine whether a guy's hot or not. And again, just like the X-WOBA differential, I can tell whether or not he's overpriced or underpriced because pricing goes up much faster than it comes down in DFS. And right now, the guys are about as cheap as they're going to be. But if Mike Trout doesn't get off to a hot start, it doesn't make any sense for me to pay $4,800 for him. I'll wait for him to heat up a little bit, and I will start seeing that faster than most people with the 7-day WOBA. Because in 7 days, I'll be watching his number climb. And then in 30 days, this will start to establish a decent baseline, and then this number will start to go above and below this number. And when it's above it, I can get on him, and when it's below it, I can get off of him. Same with the power numbers if I'm searching for power. Same with hard contact. If I want a guy who's hitting the ball hard, may not be getting results. BABIP is lucky for balls batted in play in a lot of cases. Sometimes a ball gets smashed and it goes right to a guy and he gets it. That's fine. But this number right here, 14-day hard BABIP, is a metric that Benjamin came at me with, last year and said, oh, dude, watch this. Because he was hearing me talk a little bit about these trending numbers. And dude, I love big baselines and I love, smaller baselines. I love watching them kind of ebb and flow and time in the market. And he put a lot of this stuff together based on that conversation saying, oh, I can show that. And this tab, when it came out, this was a beast. And it is pretty much what I built my lineups off of. And then he came at me and said, dude, I am next level. Because you want a guy who's hitting the ball hard, right? And a guy who's probably getting unlucky, right? Because then the luck is due to normalize. And if he's smashing the ball and he's getting unlucky, one of these days he's going to get lucky. And when he starts getting lucky, he is way underpriced and he is way underowned. And he is going to really do some damage in DFS for a while before everybody else gets on the train. 14-day hard BABIP. Tells you that. Green is good, red is bad across all of the RS, research station as we call it. We call it the RS. Big numbers are great. 32%, Hunter Renfroe. Hard BABIP. Hitting the ball hard, not getting a lot of results. Due to come back to form. And when he does, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt some pitchers. Joey Gallo running cold right now. But these guys are going to eventually come back. And as they're running cold, their price, it's like their price is going on sale a little more, enticing you to buy, until you get the right indicator, and then bang, you buy. And you ride that train for 3 or 4 days. And it oftentimes comes right in. It may not come in on day 1 or day 2, but it sometimes starts coming in there for you. And then you got him at the very, very bottom of the pricing, and you can ride that train right up until everybody else starts catching on. If you want to get ahead of the curve, you need tools like these. You need to be a member inside dfsarmy.com. You need to go down to the comment section, click the link, dfsarmy.com, use coupon code opening day, and you need to get in here and you need to get geared up for opening day. Because as these numbers start to populate, I'm going to be ready to go in 7 days, and I'm going to have verified numbers to show you why I like what I like, and I'm going to be ahead of the curve. If you want to get ahead of the curve and you want to raise your edge, you need the content, tools, and coaching that DFS Army provides. I'm Chapadong. Come find me. Come ask me questions. Whatever you got to do. Ring the notification bell because I got more videos coming here in the next couple of days. Join us. We'd love to have you. We want to teach you how to become a better player. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you in the next video.